You're listening to Maximum Medicine Radio with host Doc Martin. Stay tuned in or call in. You won't want to miss what's happening next. How do you step into your maximum potential? How do you connect your spiritual drive with your physical path? Stick around as Doc Martin takes listeners on a journey through the seen and unseen, the accepted and the unbelievable. Get ready to meet the maximum you the world needs on Maximum Medicine Radio with Doc Martin now.
Views expressed on this program are those of the host, guest, and callers, and are not necessarily those of this station, its management, or other advertisers. You're listening to Transformation Talk Radio.
I'm here with Doc Martin. I'm Dr. Pat, and I'm also here. Yeah, there she is.
Hi, I'm Doc Martin. Happy to be here.
Happy to be here. Happy to be talking about one of the things that is so important in looking at our lives and what we say yes to. Now, part of this is also talking about Maximum Medicine Radio, but the evolution, to let's just say an addendum, or better yet, an extension to Maximum Medicine Radio. And one of the things I want to start out by saying is sometimes there's an energy that calls us forward in a new way. And the question mark, and what we're going to talk about today, is whether or not we know what holds us back from taking that leap,
right?
Or what gives us our stand strong step into yes. Lead strong. I'll tell you about that today during the show.
All right, good.
But this is really a game changer for everybody today. And Doc Martin, you're bringing this conversation forward because not only are you talking about this, but you're actually doing it. And one of the ways you're doing it, and we're going to demonstrate that today, is, we're getting ready to launch a live call-in show, the Healing Hour with you, right? And that's going to be an extension of Maximum Medicine Radio. But more importantly, it's what the listeners are calling forth. And, yet when there are things like that show up for us in today's show, let's shift to heal. We are going to face our demons. We are going to face that which is inside of us that will stop us in our tracks. And boy, we need to lift that rock up today, Doc Martin, and see what kind of crawly thing is going to come out of it. Because I'm telling you, there are crawly things under the rock when it comes to doubt.
No kidding. It is paralyzing, isn't it?
It is.
It just really is. And it's like all of our lack of forward progress is of our own making. I mean, I truly believe, now have I completely accessed this myself? No, because I have my own doubts, but I truly believe the potential is phenomenal. And the thing that keeps us from getting there is our own human doubt.
Yeah.
So let's rock that. Let's
rock that. Let's rock that. Let's rock that doubt. Well, look, okay. So this is a conversation for all of us that are struggling in what I call the quagmire of the doubt that goes on in our minds. The layers that need healing, the layers that would tell us we are not that. What makes you think you are all that? And so, Doc, I want to ask you about this because it's not just about the big things, but we're going to talk about big things. But I remember a time where I couldn't get off the couch, and getting off the couch was a big thing for me. Right. And everybody that looked at me thought, what is wrong with her? She should be off the couch. She should be out of the gate. My gosh,
other
how much
people
more does she
around you.
need to do?
Other people around us, in fact, our friends, that's what they're there for. They see our potential even when we don't. Our family
Yeah.
sees our potential. So they're always stunned when we don't match up to what they see in us. And yet something's inside just kind of paralyzing us.
Yeah. Tell us from your perspective the 50 shades of doubt today. I'm telling you, I could write a book just on what happened yesterday. And today it's a new day. But this is not something that just you and I experience. This is a place where you're going to help folks stand strong in their power of who they are. Right?
Perfect. That's what I'd love to do. Yep.
How does doubt show up? Tell me about that.
Everybody, though, Pat, before we get off on that, we really want to hear from everybody. We want people, we want to know what are you challenged by? What is the little trick or the little shift we can help you make? So we want you to call in at 800-930-2819. And Dr. Pat and I are going to keep talking about these important concepts, but we really want to hear from you.
Yeah. So this show and every show that Doc Martin is going to be doing, the topic she picks is based on a collective consciousness that has come forward. And this particular one is for all of you out there that are listening to show that has something inside of you that is ready to be healed, because this is a live call-in show. And we are ready to take whatever that is on, because if there's something inside of you that's holding you back from whatever that is that wants to come forward, this is the way you're going to connect with Dr. Sharon Martin today. 1-800-930-2819. Thank you, Doc, for reminding me of that.
Let me talk about the 50 Shades of Gray, but I want to share
50 Shades of Doubt.
Oh, okay. 50
you can tell that could be another show.
Doubt is gray. Doubt is gray, isn't it? But anyway.
Yeah, it is.
I want to share this because the timing, well, we all know that there is synchronicities and patterns of timing that we're kind of like, oh, wow, how did that happen now? But there's a big plan. But anyway, I was away at a conference this past weekend with a Peruvian shaman, and he's a very gifted, he's younger than I am, so I'll call him a young man. And he walks with one foot in both worlds. He's a civil engineer, speaks impeccable Spanish, English, and Quechua. I mean, perfect, fluent, and he's literate, and his vocabulary is spectacular, and he's a phenomenal teacher. He is also the carrier of a connection to one of the sacred mountains of Peru. And he is there, that mountain, each mountain has a collective of ascended beings whose spirits are in a collective form that are literally holding space in that mountain, just as they did and do in the Himalayas. In fact, I'm going to digress and say, if you've read Drunvalo Melchizedek's book about the Serpent of Light, you'll know that the energy of this planet came from the Himalayas, serpent-like fashion across the globe, landed in the South Americas. But he said that we're at a time of reset. We're at a time of major reset. And not only because the earth itself needs the reset, but we as human beings need a reset, because we are about to shift. We are about to shift in a huge way. So what's going on is not only individual, each of us with our own struggles, but also our collective, and our collective of how we as a species are going to navigate, how we're going to interact, how's the earth going to evolve, all of that stuff. So the timing was so spectacular. And speaking of doubt, being with him and seeing the potential, because when he's in the zone, you have no doubt about the vast amazing ability of our consciousness. So I'm just really struck by we are at a serious reset time with immense potential if we can just trigger that tweak and jump over to the other track. Anyway, so I'm excited.
Yeah. And I want to talk to you about in the real world, right? In what we're talking about, let's take a moment to think about what jumping over to the other track could look like for a minute. And we can do this when we come back from break. One of the things that I'm struck by is some of the things I reflected upon yesterday in talking with people, and some of the things I remembered about my life, and how I'm even here today. You know, the many times I thought about where I stepped that my life could have been over, if that makes sense, right?
Right.
And yet at the same time, how has events, small, large, gigantic, it doesn't matter, how the insidious nature of doubt wounding, if I could call it that, slips in and could stop us dead in our track, a different kind of dead, right?
Right.
And when we come back, I am so thrilled you are taking this on, because we have to have your kind of healing now. That's how enormous this is. You know, I was with a young man yesterday who wrote a beautiful song that we did the video to. And I interviewed him, Doc Martin, and you're going to love this. He talked about these love notes and he talked about love, but he said, this is not about the word love. This is about action, love action. And I was struck by today's show because I know in my life how hard it is to get there without healing the woundedness.
Right.
And that's what you're taking on today. 1-800-930-2819. When we come back, Doc Martin's going to take us on a journey and talk about this experience, this beautiful shaman energy, the energy that brings us forward to take on a new life, and how each of us is being called to do it in our own way. And if you are stuck in any way, this show is for you. 1-800-930-2819. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Welcome back. We're going to go to the phones. We are taking calls today, just for those of you out there. And you're wondering, yes, this is Maximum Medicine Radio, and it is what we call like a prequel to the upcoming new show that Doc Martin is going to be doing, a full hour of healing, live call-in show. We're going to tell you about that. I just want to make sure all of you know that if you want to find out more about Dr. Sharon Martin, wait to hear the story she's going to share. You can go to SharonMartinMD.com. This show today is a result of a conversation she and I had, you know, before a number of things, before what she's going to talk about. But this is also in response to all of you listeners who wanted more of this kind of interaction. And you know, for us today, we are so thrilled that you all are calling in. 1-800-930-2819. 1-800-930-2819. And Benny, I think we want to get our caller back if, in fact, the call may have dropped. So is that right, Benny?
That is correct. So, Susie, if you have a chance, call us right back. Thanks.
Call us back. But while we're waiting for Susie, I love our listeners, Doc. I got to tell you, just love our listeners. Tell us about your experience.
When I went
in the mountains.
Yeah. So for me, doubt, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about doubt and how this experience rocked my socks. My doubt has always been that I'm not good enough, or somebody's better, or What will I look like if I try that? When I did my shamanic training, I wondered, what will my patients think if I'm doing something woo-woo? And that put some years some years on my journey because I was a little bit sluggish. But when I really got wide open this past weekend in the presence of this gorgeous Peruvian shaman and his benefactor, the energy of the mountain Huascaran in Peru. I have not been to Peru, but um, there's one of my doubts. What if I can't do the altitude? What if I can't hike anyway? And I felt the opening, literally, energetically, crown to root. And where I hold my doubt, and probably most of us do, is in the solar plexus. And we spent almost the whole weekend increasing the connection between the root and the crown chakra so that we did not have any blockages at all. And I mean, we're talking wide open. And what I found myself reflecting on this. All along, people have said in mystical teachers, spiritual teachers, your path of service. Well, all I could think was I was so tired from my day job, the day job of really hard, that all I could think is I can't give anybody else anything more. I cannot. So path of service was like one more thing I had to bring out and give of myself. Well, this time I saw it. I saw it so clearly that the path of service is being wide open, that when spirit talks to your soul essence, you act on it, and the path that you bring out in the world is of your soul essence. And that is the path of service. You're of service in being the fullest, deepest ribbon of energy, unique energy signature that you are. And that is your path of service. And it's not, so it doesn't sap your strength. In fact, it gives you some. And it doesn't, it's not like you have to trudge through it. When it's wide open, it just flows. And I think, Pat, that's what was happening with you on this call, going to this conference, and you were surprised perhaps that people were taking selfies of you. Well, you were in your groove.
Shocked.
Yeah. Well, you were in your groove. Your soul essence was beaming, and when people see that, they know it and they feel it. So anyway,
But you know what you're talking about is absolutely 100% right, because the photographer, Rebecca, who was there doing it, she was amazing. Everybody was amazing. She talked about that energy. She talked about my energy. And, you know, Jessica and I were talking about that when we got on the plane on the way home late last night. And I said to her, you know, Jessica, we were just being who we are.
Right.
And she says, yeah. And I think she said something like, yeah. And that's what's extraordinary and unusual, because who we are is something that is not the norm. And people look at it and they want to be around it. And, you know, I am around people like you, Doc Martin. I mean, this is my world, my life, right?
Right.
But it hasn't always been that, you know, but it is now. And I think what we're talking about and the healing that you're bringing forward, and I really want to talk about the healing you're bringing forward, because this is very important for me to share this with the listeners, and we can talk about it. I want to take a short break. And when we come back, Benny, I want to take a short break here. because I want to make sure Susie gets on and we want to make a technical adjustment. But when we come back, what is it about working with Doc Martin? In a lot of ways, I am working with her, but how does that shape us when we are around people like her? How does it shape our lives? How does it shape us into doing things we want to do? How does it shape us into stepping forward in such a gigantic yes? That plane tickets are available for both Jessica and I. Hotel rooms are available. And the funniest story of all, if you ever try to find an all white outfit in the Pacific Northwest in October, the
Holy
likelihood
moly.
of you doing that, and I have got to give a shout out for Hannah at Nordstrom's Rack, and I'm not associated with Nordstrom's, but what she did to find an outfit that we can show folks.
Perfect.
I am telling you, Doc Martin is going to tell you about it, and she's going to share what she and I have been talking about. Let's take a short break, everybody. We'll be right back.
Yeah, we were talking about
OMG. It is like it is like exactly what we're going to talk about. And by the way, generally speaking, Doc Martin, I generally cannot hold a tune very well, but this particular song happened to be in my zone. So there we go.
Oh, there you go.
There we go. Look, Doc Martin, Maximum Medicine Radio, but we are giving everybody a sneak peek at the upcoming Healing Hour show. 1-800-930-2819. Susie, please come back. But I want to talk about what Susie's comment was. And I think it would be a great kickoff point for us, Doc Martin.
Perfect.
Susie was going to talk about forgiveness. And I do believe, right, that forgiveness is one of the most misunderstood words, constructs, ideas. Tell me what your thoughts are on it, because you have studied with shamans and there's a lot of information. Pass some of that wisdom on, if you don't mind.
So I think where people struggle the most with forgiveness is, and I see it, they feel the tightness in their chest where they've been wounded, they've been betrayed. And the idea of saying that that's okay is a real stumbling block, especially when the wound, the betrayal, basically the bad energy that landed on you isn't okay. But when you really, really taste forgiveness, you're not saying it's okay. What you're saying is that all of that negative trauma energy, I see them as arrows landing in your field, are not going to keep you from being in the zone, in that clear channel where spirit talks to you and you move forward. And when you say, I see you, trauma, you're there, but you're not going to hold me back. Forgiveness is really about not letting the poison get you. Forgiveness for me, it's almost as much for you as it is for the person who wounded you. And it's regaining your open heart, because, and we'll talk about this in a future show that we're doing, a future episode with Lynn McTaggart, when we talk about the field, we are not separate. So what you're saying with forgiveness is that you know that you and every other person in the universe is in the same dynamic field, that you're not separate, that the boundaries are only poisoning you. But that doesn't mean that you're saying that what they did was okay. It's not okay. And you can be protective and not let it happen to you again. But you don't want, forgiveness is the roto-rooter that opens up your pipe again. You don't want all that crud holding on to the anger, the wound, the victim, the martyr, the whatever. That crudola, we need to roto-rooter it, because then you are free and clear and more powerful than you were before. That's the thing. It's about self-power in the sense of more connected to spirit and more able to live your essence. Does that make sense?
It does make sense. You know, in the vernacular of a little bit of old school, Benny, I don't know if you can dig the sound out, the sound bite out, Mr. Benny. It is the crust busting way.
Yeah.
Because you have got to get through the sludge.
Right.
You know how I know that? I've
'Cause
had
you've
some
lived it?
sludge. I've
Yeah.
had some sludge.
No kidding.
You know, I want to ask you a question about this, Doc. Sometimes we think that we've handled it. I just want to say that, like we've handled it, only to find out we thought we've handled it, but we've gotten that rotor-rooter layer done, and then there's another layer. What's your experience of that? And I want to ask you about that in the context of this past week for you and what you experienced.
So my shaman sisters and I often talk about the layers of the onion. You know, you get through this really hard personal transformative work, and damn, if there isn't something else. And it's like, when will I ever be whatever, big, whole, healed?
Done.
Yeah, when will I be done? And I think as long as we are human with energies of lifetimes having informed our energy field, you may not ever be done. It takes a very special person to be completely lit up and enlightened. But every time you do some work, you get more and more clear. You get more and more self-generating in your power. And you get more and more in the listening mode where the whispers from spirit come through and you bring them into action. So I say keep working it. Every time you're more and more powerful in your self awareness and ability to walk the path of this lifetime. So, okay, there's another layer of an onion. Oh, well, maybe that came from lifetime 30 ago. Who knows? Who knows? But I was just thinking, Pat, when you're talking about being at this filming and the production you were doing, and people wanted to take pictures. Well, when you're glowing, when you are in, and this is for public speakers, you can see it in them. This is for charismatic politicians. When you can see it. When you are glowing and lit up, people want to be around you because your field is expansive, and it's a good feeling because it's totally downloaded from spirit. And I don't doubt that people want to take a picture.
I have to tell you, to hear Jessica talk about it is fascinating to me, because we were so I was in such a place of gratitude and awe of these people, young, old, inside out. I mean, come on, you just name it, all walks of life, musicians, actors, authors, politicians, whatever it was. We were just people. We were just people yesterday. You know what I'm saying? It's hard to explain, but the energy of love and the brilliance of that energy, everyone in one place. There was no reference to our differences, Doc Martin. And that's really, I didn't think in my lifetime I'd ever experience it quite like that.
So that came in as human, like really, really came in. And that's, so the human field was amazing.
the healing version of this, and let's talk about, the healing for this, because I think this is what is involved in many people who are stuck or frozen. And what's interesting about the show is we're talking about being stuck and frozen. And I have known that in my experience in technology is when we talk about something, the universe taps into that. Hence, Doc Martin's video is a little bit frozen today. And, I've worked with you, Doc, lots of times before, no hiccup. So there's an energy in this call, and this has happened to me over and over and over again since I'm doing this. And then Susie's call dropping. See, this is how we get messages about the energy that needs to be brought forward, the voice of it. And I got to tell you, this is in watching you and what you have said yes to in service of other people, our listeners. This is so profoundly beautiful in its essence. And everyone, Doc, can experience it. And I want to ask you about that. This is not just for a handful of people. Everybody listening to this show can stand in the power of the brilliance of their yes, right?
Right. Absolutely.
Let's help them.
Let's help them.
I'm like on fire.
You're lit up. All right.
We've got to be able to help people. And, this is why you do what you do and I do what I do. And if anybody is out there, and let me give you a sense of this, because this is not about being stuck at some video shoot this is about, I couldn't get off the couch for an entire year when I moved to Seattle. And if I'd have had Doc Martin, that wouldn't have been a year on the couch on Capitol Hill. And the only time I got off the couch was to take my dog for a walk on Broadway and get a latte and sit with my dog. That's what I did, my beautiful collie. But right. Doc, you have said yes to helping people get off the couch, metaphorically, wherever they are. Tell us about the need for this and the power of dialogue and the power of listening, if you could.
Well, I had my own couch experience 5 years ago. I had a bad horse riding accident and broke 13 ribs. I'm telling you, you don't wish that on your worst enemy.
No way.
And I was literally laid down. I've been pushing and probably doing too much and not having enough self-care. And the universe said, well, we're going to make you take a break here. And
metaphorically, literally take a break.
Correct. Literally. Yeah. Everything. But in that time, I chose not to, I had to work at it. It wasn't easy. I had to work at seeing the value of rest. I'm not a sit still person. I'm not very flexible in terms of, I like my schedule. I like to know what I'm doing, where I'm going. And this was a whole new thing for me, but I tried to see it as the time to take to download. And sometimes with the pain, and occasionally I had to take a pain pill. I tried hard not to because ick. But that space, it's hard to get back up from a space like that.
Yes, it is.
And I also reflect on if you ever have self-doubt, which all of us do, look at your friends. And if you think your friends are amazing, I ask myself this question: if I wasn't something worthy, would I have friends as amazing as this? So I kind of see myself through their eyes, and that picks me back up.
Wow. That is a great question. Can you ask that again? Because this is really a little telltale, right? A little bit of an indicator, isn't it?
It is. So sometimes when I'm feeling like I'm not enough, I'm not good enough, I'm this, I'm not this, and I think I'm just not very worthy, I'll stop and I'll recognize how amazing my friends are and how much I admire them. And if I see that, and then I think, well, if they're that amazing and incredible and they like me, I'm their friend. So somewhere my thinking is screwball because they like me, they see my value, they still hang around with me. I can't be this icky person I'm pretty sure I am. And I talk myself, I like flip the switch and, get out of my own self-pity party that I'm doing. So your
Yeah.
friends, you use your friends as your mirrors.
Yeah. One of the other things I love about what you're talking about is this idea of it being a regular practice to remind ourselves that we truly are maximum, that we really are in that place of astonishment in where we stand and what we speak. And I know you have committed to a life, let's say, that is there to help other people and help them in ways that maybe today we don't know about. I was talking with a man yesterday, and I would just want you all to see this. I can try to hold my t-shirt up there. Okay. This Lead Strong, right? If you're going to read this, Lead Strong.
Yep.
I'm going to tell you about who this is, but this is a gentleman, and he and I talked about our past and talked about, our bouts with addiction, our bouts with homelessness, whatever that was. It all came up in a room we were all in. And what he did with his life, though, was to come forward and help others now. Go to the prisons, help people create the life after. What you are developing, and I wanted to ask you to talk about this, is help us lead strong from within, to be able to look at everything inside of ourselves and believe and hope and realize that we can turn that around. Talk, if you could, a little bit about how through your own journey to explore who you are becoming, did you have to deal with your own stuff? Because we all do.
Oh, I'm probably one of the most self-critical people I know. Um, and my family and my girlfriends say, just knock it off. Don't you know that you are X, Y, and Z?
Mm.
It took my actively working to develop a relationship with spirit for me to start sensing my power, to really sit in the quiet. For me, my God comes in the form of nature and other forms too, but that's where I can really tap in animals, trees, and being outdoors. But that quiet time of literally allowing the quiet voices that are inside you to come forth, then you start to have connections that transcend just you inside your own body. And then that, to me, then you begin to feel expanded. And then you might have a woo-woo moment. And, those kinds of things that are synchronicity and that maybe you're telepathic with someone, who's going to call. You really, really pray for something and boom, there it is in your path. And then for me, I start to say, man, look what I'm touching. Look at what I'm experiencing. Look what I'm tapping into.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you're even more expanded and you want to feel more of it. So, and then as soon as you want to feel more of it, I think that wakes us up inside.
Yeah. And this is the waking up time, isn't it? I mean, this is
My.
really like the biggest that you can imagine waking up time. I mean, look, we are seeing it everywhere, and it's an energetic wake up time, I think, for us to really take that next step forward in whoever we are.
Yep. Well, it's, they've been teaching it that it's been going on since, they talked about the big harmonic conversion of 1989, but I think about the hippies.
There you go.
I think about the hippies. I think they started to bring it in.
Now you're talking about me.
And me too. Oh my.
Yep. Yeah, boy.
But that
long hair, the whole thing.
That was really waking up our paradigms and saying we don't have to do it in the old stodgy way. Anyway, so I think that's when stuff started rolling into our consciousness.
Yeah. And then I went asleep. I went to sleep for like a bunch of decades. A little bit.
You're awake again.
Exactly. And it took me, I mean, this is a 15-year journey with the show. And I'm not saying that it took 15 years, but every day I am discovering a new part of who I am and how I can help our listeners better.
Right.
And on the plane yesterday for that, what is it, a 2.5 hour ride from LA to Seattle? And on the plane with almost empty, and Jessica, and the middle seat was empty, and me. We had a brainstorming session that's going to change the landscape of what we're about to do.
Cool.
And you said something to me, I think it was a couple of weeks ago, and I can't remember your exact words, but it was it was like expect the unexpected in a good way.
Right.
That's an energy. Can you talk about that energy? Because I think that energy goes beyond hope. It's a different field of energy. It's like hope in action or something. Can you talk about it?
So if you are at ease with the unexpected, when the universe talks to you in ways you had not imagined, in other words, you always thought you were going to know because of your dream time or something. But if you open, and it's about opening, it's about literally taking the rooms of your consciousness and opening the windows so you could see differently. Literally, expression behind the veils, across another dimension. Then you start to see messages or synchronistic things that you actually allow in, and you allow your brain to process and bring them to your awareness. And if you're not limited, if you're not putting yourself in a box with no windows and no doors, and you're keeping yourself locked in your belief system, and now you're saying, well, maybe something from over here can have meaning, or you say, why not? In other words, you've got this box and this wall, and that's all there is. And you say, well, why? Why does it have to be that way? Then all of a sudden in comes zooming unbelievable amounts of information for you from the unseen world, the seen world. And then you start to be more expanded. And when you do, then you're taking in all kinds of possibilities that you never knew before. And I think that wakes you up.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that expands you.
Yeah. I want to talk a minute about the healing hour. Excuse me. I mean, I want to talk about your upcoming show. If you could talk about it. You were called to do this. And I don't know how to talk about it in another way. And what I mean by you were called to do it, something hit you and said, I got to do this. Can you tell our folks about the healing hour and what's about to come and what was underneath that for you?
So I was so thrilled. Your producer, Jessica, is the one who first found me and opened up the possibility of doing a radio show, which I knew was a gift from Spirit because I wouldn't have come up with that myself. And I love it. I love the ability to share and learn from people, and just thrilled with that. And a few months ago, I woke up at 4. Usually I get my messages at 3:30, 4:30 in the morning, with knowing that this was the next step. For me, the healing hour is a place where I literally energetically can sit with you in communion of sorts, and I can hear, see, feel, imagine, energetically touch you and offer something that I might have in my repertoire as a traditional physician, as a shaman, as an energy healer, as a person who literally gets messages from her stones in her medicine bundle. I have that. And again, that's the path of service. That's when I'm wide open and I am being told, offer this of yourself, offer this of yourself. So I am so looking forward to that space where I can be, and just, metaphorically sitting in the chair, the armchair across from you in front of the fireplace, and taking on your issue, your challenge, where you struggle, and offering you a flip of the switch or a tweak or an energetic connection that perhaps your soul forgot. So
Yeah.
I really am looking forward to that show.
And folks are going to hear more about it. And as time goes on, in addition to Maximum Medicine Radio, where you're going to be interviewing and let's tell folks some of the folks that are coming up that you've interviewed and will be interviewing.
So I interviewed Carl Greer, whom you probably have heard about. He's a shaman and Jungian analyst, and he's written several books that are on Amazon. Change Your Story, Change Your Life. I interviewed Stevie Bell, who is a master healer in multiple arenas. And I am going to interview tonight Jaap van Etten, who is from Sedona, Arizona, whom you all probably know from his work in channeling the crystal skull energy. But tonight we're going to talk about dragons, strong energy forces of creation. And Lynn McTaggart, we're going to interview her in November, pre-recorded for the December show. You remember her, she wrote the book, The Field.
Yeah.
And The Intention Experiment. And
yeah.
I mean, so the goal of Maximum Medicine is for us to know that there's so much more we can be. And these are little tweaks of little tidbits for you to see what's other things you can put in your repertoire and really, really expand.
And that's the Maximum Medicine.
Oh, no kidding, isn't it?
Boy, I'll tell you, that is it. Doc Martin, thank you so very much. One last question. What's your personal message? What would you like to leave everyone with today? I'm so excited.
I'm so excited. You are more. You are so much more than you even know and imagine. And if I can help you get there to be the maximum you, that's what I'm here for.
Yeah.
And I can't wait to visit with people on the air, and you can find me on my website, SharonMartinMD.com. So I'm so thrilled, Dr. Pat, that you have me here. Thank you.
I am so thrilled too, boy, because if this is a little bit of what we can expect a whole lot from, I'm hoping that folks, you're ready to say, I'm in. Thank you all for tuning us in and turning us on. I'm Dr. Pat, Doc Sharon Martin, Benny, thank you. Kat, thank you. We'll see you all next time.
Thank you, guys. You've been listening to Maximum Medicine Radio with Doc Martin. Tune in next time while the Doc talks health, spirituality, and the impact your beliefs have on every part of who you are, body and soul. Doc Martin unpacks the challenges we face as human beings and teaches callers to open the door between the scientific and the mystical. Expand into your multidimensional self. Learn how beliefs can set you free or keep you caged in mediocre health. To learn more about Doc Martin and Maximum Medicine, visit www.SharonMartinMD.com.